Welcome back, everyone. I'm really excited for this new episode. It's something I've been thinking about for a while and really going to look at sort of some of the additions that the Bills made, especially at safety, and see how they may be playing Kansas City, potentially in a playoff matchup later in the year. So really excited to get started. This time of year is sort of a lot of fun. We got a lot of, hype and a lot of anticipation for the upcoming season. Got the, preseason to look at some of the younger players and sort of, kind of go forward. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we keep on going, just a reminder, if you want to comment, like, and subscribe, I appreciate the engagement, and let's keep on moving. The Bills were pretty solid against the Chiefs on the offense, but their defense was really getting torched, especially in the first half. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the Bills were playing them in the first half and see why Kelce was getting wide open on some of those passing plays. So in this first play, we can see Kelce lined up tight against the line. He goes downfield and runs a short option route and gets open against the linebackers for a first down. So looking at the end zone angle, we can see this play again. Kelce runs down against the linebackers, pushes off, gets open, and Mahomes is right on time. This is like, classic Chiefs offensive football. So this next play here is a little different. We got Kelce lined up in the backfield in the wishbone. He runs just vertically, gets man-to-man against the linebacker, runs to the corner, and makes a nice catch for a huge gain. This is why you don't want to have unathletic linebackers lined up against Kelce in man coverage. It just doesn't work. Here's another play here where Kelce is lined up as the flanker. He runs against cover three, and Poyer bites on the inside move, and then once he goes out to the corner, he's open. Unfortunately, it's an overthrow, but it was definitely wide open there. So it didn't work on that time, but here's a similar play where Kelce does get the touchdown. He runs to the corner and is wide open as the Bills are caught in cover one. He does get jammed as he works through the zones, but moves through pretty easily as the safety can't get over there quick enough and is open for the easy touchdown. So if we look at it from the end zone angle, we can see that the linebackers are sitting back in zones again, and they're not able to disrupt Kelce's route very much, and he gets open pretty easily here for the walk-in touchdown. We've seen this so many times over and over again with the Chiefs throughout the years. So let's take a look at the game stats from this game. So Patrick Mahomes had 215 yards, high passing percentage, and 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce caught those 2 touchdowns. He had 5 receptions for 75 yards on 6 targets. Really high, catch percentage for him in this game. But let's kind of think about what we saw from the first half. Those first 4 plays, those were sort of the highlight plays that they got, right? And a lot of it is in the first half. So let's take a look at the second half, what the Bills did to adjust to kind of eliminate Kelce as a threat, and which really stifled their offense in the second half and allowed the Bills to sort of make it more of a competitive game. So let's take a look at how they played in the second half and how it's completely different than the first half. So we say goodbye to soft zones, welcome in tight man-to-man bump and run coverage. Completely different approach for defending Kelce here. So we can see that here as Kelce motions inside, Poyer trails him in man. The play goes to the other side, but Poyer is right there in his hip pocket. And in order for this ball to be completed, it would have had to have been a tight, over-the-throw type catch. So obviously you're not going to be able to stop Kelce every single time. It's just impossible. So here's a similar route where he goes on and out route with a soft sort of man coverage by Poyer. He gets open on a nice route, but he's not really bumped off his route. It's sort of a relatively easy, short gain for them to get. So even though it's man-to-man, you're not always going to be able to stop Kelce. That's just the realities of it. So here we have a play that is underway where Kelce is running a crosser in traffic. Poyer stays in contact, and of course, if the pass was perfect, he could have been completed, but he is covered, and Mahomes is downfield instead to MVS, which ended up going for a nice completion. The end zone angle shows it a little better in that as Kelce has gotten older, he's not as fluid getting in and out of his cuts. Makes it a lot easier for a physical safety to keep up. Something that really wasn't able to be done, 5 or 6 years ago when Kelce was in his prime. But, as he sort of aged, it's a little easier to sort of slow him down, react to sort of his cuts. So I've been showing how well Poyer has locked down Kelce in the second half so far. So I really want to give him some love. I know that he's no longer in Buffalo, but he's definitely still a really good player. So, and I'm sure he's going to do nice things in Miami. So just want to show off how Poyer made up for the really bad fake punt call, and really is the only reason why the game ended as closely as it did, because of this punch out. So I do think that Poyer, ages sort of well because he's going to be able to, be a physical safety in the box as long as he can sort of keep up that strength. But he's probably done in being the classic over-the-top safety that he was in most of his career in Buffalo. So we've been seeing a lot of Poyer walking in on Kelce, but he's really not the only one that took this type of coverage. So here we have the cornerback Neal, who's a very big physical corner and man-to-man coverage, and Kelce just can't get open. And Mahomes throws elsewhere, even though Rice is double covered. So it's not just Poyer who can lock him down, but it's more like an approach to the play that Kelce that really bogs down the Chiefs offense and gives the Bills a chance to come back. So it's not specifically to the skill set that Poyer has, even though obviously he does have a very good skill set for playing this type of defense. And just to show that this wasn't a one-time play, here's another play where Neal covers Kelce, lined up on the tight end in the formation, locks him in, sticks with him the whole time as he runs to the corner, and Mahomes ends up the play with a sack, or it might be a short gain. So the other way that the Bills played Kelce is that they played him just a lot more physically, just like across the board. So here we have Kelce on the line, and you can see that he runs out on a pattern on the backside of the play, and the linebackers are just playing him so much more physically here, just bumping him off his spot. And he does get open, but it takes a while, and it's unlikely that Mahomes is going to be looking back onto that side of the field when he's scrambling out to his right. Maybe if that was blocked up and he had to scramble back to his left, maybe he'd improv and get Kelce the ball, but it's obviously not the design of the play. So really does a good job of just everyone sort of really keying in and making sure that that Kelce isn't the one that's beating them on offense. So what does Kansas City do in response? Do they let the Bills keep on locking up Kelce, their number one target, and deal with trying to get their receivers open, even though they're having a hard time doing that? They really start to instead run plays that aren't really in Kelce's wheelhouse just to get something moving on offense. Look at this play here. So he tries to, at the snap, get over to block for a wide receiver screen. You can just see how awkward he is in getting over and trying to lay on the block. This just isn't really his skill set, and Andy Reid is just trying to do different things, just try something to get the offense rolling. I haven't really personally seen Kelce do this type. A lot of times he's running down the field trying to distract defenses, try to get some space that way. The play does go for a few yards, but honestly, it's more luck than anything. Bad tackle. I think it's Rice here. Is able to get up. It's pretty much blown up immediately. But Kelce's not really being used as that decoy because they've seen how he's really able to get locked up in man-to-man, and you're not pulling zones over towards Kelce. You're just, there's that one guy, and he's not going to be trying to make the tackle, but there's a lot of other people who are going to be trying to get through to make the tackle. So it's just something you wouldn't have seen the Chiefs try, and I don't think I saw anything like a play like this during the first half when Kelce was getting open and the offense was flowing a lot better. So what we saw here in the second half is that even when Kelce is given soft coverage, because of the way that the Bills are playing Kelce, Pat Mahomes is quick to look off him and go to a second read. Well, in the first half, what we saw in the first play, where he sort of stuck with Kelce longer, knowing that he's going to get open in zones, we kind of see that Kelce is bumped off as he works through the zone, but once Mahomes sees contact with Kelce, he just looks off immediately and sort of throws a low pass at the feet of the receiver. So when we think about it, like this is really the biggest impact of playing this type of way against the Chiefs. It's not just that you're bumping Kelce and kind of knocking him off his spot a little bit, which is obviously good, but it's really dictating to the Chiefs like how they need to play. Sort of affecting how Mahomes sort of goes through his progressions, how quickly he sort of stays on his top targets, as opposed to the other way around, where the Chiefs are usually dictating to the defense, here's the way you have to play to stop us. And it's just changed things around too much and really made the Chiefs sputter in the second half, especially compared to the dominant first half that they had offensively. So what did the Chiefs do this offseason to address some of their limitations on offense? In the past, they had Tyreek Hill, who's just like an amazing athlete, to pull defenses back, and it led to some of those cover two shells that we saw become so popular in the NFL. So what did they do? They drafted Xavier Worthy out of Texas, one of the fastest receivers to come out in a long time. Definitely a different kind of athlete and prospect than Tyreek Hill, but definitely has the speed. I covered
the Texas wide receiver prospects in an earlier video. So if you want to learn more about Worthy, I would definitely check that out. But basically, he's not Tyreek Hill. Nobody's Tyreek Hill. But he's still a very fast wide receiver who actually is a little more versatile. Shows some abilities to be a strong runner through tackles, which is not really something that Tyreek Hill is known for. He's more shifty and getting around people. And he can even throw the ball. I saw a really beautiful pass to down the field to the receiver in one of the plays. So he can definitely be a gadget guy, some end arounds, stuff like that, and then obviously the trick plays too. I'm a lot more higher on Worthy than a lot of other people are, but I do think that going to Kansas City is really the best situation for him possible, considering some of his strengths and limitations. He definitely can't do everything, and so what is Andy Reid the best at is maximizing the players that he has. So I think it's a really good situation, both for Kansas City, because I think they're getting a really good player, and then for Worthy, because I think he'll be used correctly in their system. So, let's talk about what this video is really all about. The Bills' chances to have a strong defense, especially against Kansas City in the playoffs, or being strong against other teams who have, their offenses run through their tight end. With Hyde and the releasing of Poyer, the Bills are sort of hitting the reset button in the safety room. And the safety is such an important part in the Sean McDermott defense. They still have DeMar Hamlin, who, although he only played like less than 3/4 of a season, he is, sort of young but has some starting experience. Mike Edwards is a solid veteran, but he's been injured a lot, especially this offseason. Doesn't have a ton of starting experience, considering how long he's been in the league. Cam Lewis is a kind of a local fan because of who he went to the University of Buffalo. Hasn't really shown to be a starter when he has gotten in, but he does have some of that experience. They brought in Kareem Jackson, who's sort of an intriguing safety on the roster, but kind of that veteran presence. I don't necessarily see a ton of upside with him, but definitely a solid starter. Can't go wrong with having a backup depth person like that. And then the most intriguing safety that they have is their second round rookie Cole Bishop. So he's probably could be one of the most versatile safeties in the league. Kind of reminds me more of like a raw version of Kyle Hamilton. One of the reasons why he wasn't really given that first round grade like Hamilton was. So let's go ahead and take a look at how he played in college and how he could be a difference maker in the Bill system and maybe do some of those things that we saw them do in the second half against the Chiefs in the playoffs. So in this first play, we have Cole Bishop. He's in off coverage against the slot receiver, and he's able to sort of wait for him to make a move, play back, and then once the receiver crosses over the middle, catch up to him and be in a trailing position against the receiver. I'm not really leaving him open, but not necessarily locking him down as much as you'd like to see for crossing routes and stuff like that. This next play, we have Bishop in a one-to-one coverage against a tight end who's lined up in the flanker position, similar to what you saw Kelce line up as in the Bills playoff game. Bishop tries to jam him, but he doesn't really bump him off the spot as much as he probably should and as much as you'd like. But he's able to sort of keep up with the tight end and the QB throws elsewhere. So in this next play here, he's good at playing in the traditional safety look, but delivering those hits. In the NFL, you have to be perfectly because of the refs are really leaning towards the offense, especially with safety. But he definitely has the ability to lay big hits, knock the ball out, and be an intimidator in the secondary, which is really important, especially when you're going up against like larger tight ends, bigger players. You can really sort of lay out those hits, and you're not going to be flagged as much for unnecessary roughness just because he's a safety. He's not a linebacker or something like that. He's not a bigger player. So we've kind of seen him in a lot of different roles here, and here's one where we can see his closing speed. So he's in the traditional sort of back safety position. He's in single high. What I really like about this one, as opposed to some of the others, is that he's demonstrating his closing speed, but it's really the anticipation of seeing the receiver coming open over the middle and making the tackle right after the catch. Now, of course, it'd be great if he was there a little earlier, break it up, but obviously he can only cover so much ground. But it really limits decent gain, maybe 6 yards, as opposed to if he was further backpedaled, getting out of position, and then needs to rush up and maybe make a touchdown saving tackle or something like that. So it's the anticipation which is so important in the NFL because the players are so fast, even just like a split second hesitation, and they could be running for a touchdown. So we kind of see a little more versatility here. We got Cole Bishop sort of in the line, faking the blitz, and then quickly backpedaling out to the hook curl zones, covering the receiver that's sort of settling in there. Considering how much Sean McDermott likes to disguise his coverages, this is definitely something that the Bills are valued, and I guarantee you that these are the types of plays that they were looking at and saying, yeah, I think he could really fit in our system pretty well. So in a lot of plays, you kind of see him jamming off the line, but here he's doing it like a little differently. He's up against the flanker. He's backpedaling, waiting for the receiver to come to him, jamming him, and then following him downfield. Lets him sort of stick to his coverage and demonstrates an ability to play physically in a lot of different ways. We've seen him at the line jamming, in zones jamming, waiting for the player to come to him and jam him and follow him on his route. He's really versatile in the way he plays, especially against the larger receivers. One such receiver here, we got a tight end, and he jams him, but he's just a lot more forceful, really knocking him off the spot. And as he runs out and the QB throws it to the tight end, he just isn't there yet, and it goes out of bounds. So, especially like the timing-based offenses, which is becoming more and more common in the NFL, this type of play is really effective because if the timing isn't right, you can have quarterbacks hitch, throw it out inaccurately, maybe the rush gets there. There's a lot of really positive stuff that can happen when you're knocking off the rhythm and knocking the players out of where they're supposed to be. So here in this play, we got Bishop, who's in man coverage on third down, and I really like this. It's the situational awareness, which is such a big thing going into the NFL. He knows where the yard marker is, where his routes are going to be to run for the first down, and he waits for the receiver to make his break, gets his hands on him, slows him down until the quarterback has nowhere else to go, and then he throws short of the sticks in the flat. It's just a nice way of recognizing the situation, anticipating what the other team is going to do, but also waiting for the player to make their move. Like not saying, I know he's going to cut here because the first down marker is here. Maybe he goes as if he's going to make that cut, and then juts downfield, easy touchdown. So, it's situational awareness, but relying on sort of what you see too. It's a good combo of both. I like it a lot here. So here's this last play that we're going to go over. Bishop here isn't in great coverage. He tries to jam, kind of gets turned around, but he shows really good balance in quickly starting to be able to trail the tight end and be in position to knock the pass down underneath. You're not always going to play it perfectly. You're not always going to be able to be in perfect position or have perfect technique, but the ability to sort of stay balanced and be able to recover from making a mistake is huge because that's going to happen in the NFL. And in the NFL, if you're letting up touchdowns, you're making mistakes, and it's letting people get 40 yards down the field before even being touched, that kind of stuff, you're just not going to be a starter in the NFL. So I love to see the the reactivity and the ability to sort of stay on his feet here. It's really good. So to sort of summarize, why did the Bills select Cole Bishop earlier than a lot of people had him rated? Well, definitely he's the versatility. The Bills love versatility across the board. They talk about it all the time in press conferences. They talk about it, offensive line, defensive line, everything. It's all about versatility. Poyer played a lot all over when he was in the box. He was at the line of scrimmage. He was blitzing. He was deep. He was doing a lot of things all over his career. The Bills have not been shy about wanting to build a team to compete with the Chiefs, and we saw how their scheme changed in the second half in the playoffs, and Bishop can slide right into that position. He may not start right away. He probably will have a bigger role. Maybe after their bye week, they could make that transition. Hamlin's had a really good camp, been playing really well. He might start week 1 next to Taylor Rapp, who signed a multi-year deal this offseason, and then maybe Bishop transitions in. Maybe Bishop starts to play, and you maybe have him in as like a dime linebacker. He's pretty comfortable playing down there in the box and on the line. Maybe he could even be your backup nickel cornerback because Taron Johnson, their nickel, kind of plays a little similarly in terms of being able to jam and play in coverage and lots of other kinds of stuff. So I see him as like a defensive weapon, and that's exactly what Sean McDermott needs. If you're going to be going up against Patrick Mahomes, Burrow, you got Tua with Tyreek, Got a lot of really good quarterbacks in the AFC, and then obviously if they ever made it to a Super Bowl, there's a lot of good quarterbacks over on the other side too. There's just a lot of things that they're gonna have to be able to, a lot of different ways that offenses attack you, and having a Swiss Army knife like Cole Bishop is always a good thing. So I just wanted to thank everyone for sort of sticking through. It's really excited to start the season. We've got the Hall of Fame game coming up. We've got preseason, and then it's going to be just jumping right into the regular season. There's a lot of great football ahead, a lot of interesting teams. The Bills are definitely very excited about some of their new players, and just want to appreciate all of you. Feel free to drop a like or subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Bills' defense this year. Maybe any players you got an eye on, maybe certain teams you think they might struggle against, and obviously any kind of predictions you want to drop in there. I'd love to keep the conversation going. And I will see you in the next one.